and with Debner, with Dwayne down, and getting our 3 tight ends really more involved than they've been all year. Mm-hmm. And they really came through. All 5 of those guys on offense came through for us.
Well, one fan had asked me to ask you about the tight ends.
Right.
Was it out of necessity, or was that in the game plan?
Well, I think
you knew Brown wasn't going to play, right?
I think it's a little bit of both. You've got to have somebody pick up the slack for those 12 receptions. Debner, we didn't think he'd go out there and catch 12 balls. So we knew we needed the 3 tight ends to be involved more. Mm-hmm. And with Dwayne not in there, it opened actually some things up. You got Dwayne and Ridley, they catch a lot of our passes. But we do need to, I think it really helped that we've got our tight ends involved more, so that gives us an added, weapon, so to speak, in the pass game, and they've done a good job in the run game. They blocked great. They blocked great on Saturday.
Well, the thing is, too, is you put them in the slot.
Yeah, we did. And we hit Grant with a corner route. We flexed those guys out. We hit Laney a couple times from a flex position. We hit Suman on a Mac made a great play and dumped the ball off to Suman.
Oh, he was wide open.
And he really, they had a guy coming clean off the edge, and Mac, he jumped up in the air. Mac faked him. He jumped up in the air to knock the pass down. That was a really good ad-lib play by Mac. And we got those 3 involved. We got Debner involved. Ridley was in the mix. And then, like I said, Hauser ran great. I know he had 40 yards, I think, on the last run, but he had 140, so he had over 100 yards before that last run.
Yeah, he runs hard, didn't he?
Yeah, he ran as hard as he's run maybe since he's been here. He broke a lot of that. Now, here's the thing, that with Dwayne not in there, that box wasn't, soft. There were a lot of guys in that box, and they were playing the run. Without Dwayne, you got Dwayne and Ridley out there. You get some soft boxes, Mercy, Hurst. A couple other games this year we ran for big numbers because we had soft boxes with Dwayne and Ridley out there wide out. That wasn't the case Saturday. Now, we're running against loaded boxes, and we blocked it, and our every running back ran very hard. Like DeJour had 40 yards. He played great till he got hurt.
Well, I was going to ask you that. He hit the side, something on the sideline?
No, it was more, he did, but that had nothing to do with the injury. He got, cut down by one of their DBs when he planted his knee. He's going for an MRI tomorrow, to look at it. We're hoping it's a sprain like Dwayne and Comedy had. And if we have 2 weeks, we could probably get him ready to play if it's just a sprain. So we're got our fingers crossed he's getting an MRI tomorrow.
So what was your thought process here? You start the game without your All-American wideout, then your starting running back goes down. It's like, oh boy, this is not, although the game started tremendously well for you, but that had to give you some concerns right away.
Well, we got Hauser and Younger in the run game to pick up for DeJour. And then, we knew once Dwayne, we knew he wasn't going to play. We were going to have to lean on Ridley and Debner and the tight ends, and that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah, well, fortunately, they all performed.
Yes, they did.
It worked out well.
Really did.
I'm not a judge of the game or whatever, but I think as coaches, as a collective group, you guys really had the game plan down, because that first 3 and out, nobody was expecting that, especially they weren't.
Right.
And then you go down and you set the tempo for the game.
Right. I think, well, if you look at the first 3 and out, and then our first drive of the game, we converted 2 fourth down. We were inside the 35. We had a 4th and 6 and 4th and 2. Well, on the 35, it was 4th and 6, and my thinking was, if we punt, and we punt the ball into the end zone, they're getting the ball on the 20-yard line anyway. We're going to have to score points, show confidence in the offense. We had 4th and 6 on the 35, and we hit Debner for a first down. And then we had a 4th and 2 on about the 25, 24-yard line. It would have been a tough field goal to begin with. And I didn't think we were going to win the game kicking field goals, and we ran an outside zone on 4th and 2 and made 8 yards. So we hit the pass on the first 4th down, We hit the run on the second fourth down, and that ended up being a pretty long drive to get us our first touchdown. But the key to the game was the drive to start the second half. We went 93 yards and took up 7.5 minutes of the clock.
Yeah.
And that gave us another 2-score lead, So, and then on the next series, Frazier had the intercept. I mean, that's probably the whole turning point in the game. I mean, we got a penalty on the kickoff return to start the second half. We were on our own 7-yard line, and we went 93 yards and used 7.5 minutes of the clock to go up by 2 scores. And then they had a drive going, and we got the interception and flipped the field with the return. And then we scored hitting Laney on the pop right in the corner of the end zone off of the play action. He was open, so was Parker Gregg, the lead blocker in the flat. They were both wide open because they played the run. It was second and goal on the 2, and they were both wide open. So, both sides of the ball, offense, defense, I thought our coaches did a great job keeping them off balance. We went heavy zone against Badgett, didn't blitz a lot, had 1 or 2 coverages in there that we really hadn't played a whole lot for a while. So I think that helped us, especially. Their 7 points in the first half was on a 38-yard drive, and we had them stopped on third down, and the ball just went up over Jaheim Howard's hands.
I just missed him.
Yeah. So, but that was a 38-yard drive, So if you'd have told me we're going to hold them to 7, and it would have been a 38-yard drive for our defense, I'd be like, I'm buying. And so that's what we did. But the problem was, we had a penalty at the end of the first half, Randy Washington, and he knows it, a terrible penalty. They're going to be punting on their own 10-yard line with a minute 40 to go. We're going to get the ball on at least the 50 with a chance to go up 2 scores. That was a big – and then we had to go play 9 more plays on defense to keep them out of the end zone. So that was a big turning point there, too, because here's the thing that players got to understand, and they don't really understand is we're going to be getting the ball back up 10-7, and we're probably going to get the ball on the 50-yard line with a minute 40 to play in the first half. And we're getting second half kickoff. Mm-hmm. So if we go in and score there and go up 17-7 or even get a field goal out of it and go up 13-7, we're getting the ball again to start the second half. We gave them another opportunity with a stupid, undisciplined penalty. And then we had to go play 9 more plays on defense just to stay alive and keep the lead. So that was a turning point in a bad way. Luckily, they didn't score, but we took a possession away from our offense. And we knew we were going to get the ball to start the second half, too. So, like we really made things hard right there with
tougher,
that.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, things worked out, but you're right. And it doesn't matter what team you're playing. When you're playing a team like Shepherd, too,
right,
you can't afford those things. Well, our special guest has arrived, and we're going to get to him in just a moment. We're going to continue with Coach Paul Tortorella. Stay with us. We're Hawk Talk. We have some questions that some fans have sent to me that we'll ask the coach later on. Do maybe a little reminiscing about playoffs. 20 appearances in the playoffs for IUP. That's a lot of tradition there. We'll be back in a moment. We're live from the Hilton Garden Inn. We call it Hawk Talk, and we'll return on U92Radio.com and U92 Facebook page.
C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best-kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for C.H. Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at hiltongardeninn.com.
Come join us in celebrating our grandfather Red Dowd's induction into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame.
To celebrate, we can't think of anything better than to combine 2 of Dowd's most popular sales.
To honor his legacy and celebrate our 72nd anniversary, we're offering up to 72% off selected floor sample clearance items. Plus, save on all custom orders with every other item up to 1/2 off.
Come celebrate with us, Dowd's of Plumville and Dowd's of Greensburg.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Jack Benedict along with Coach Paul Tortorella, and we have Colin Petropola with us, the veteran center and one of the stalwarts in that offensive line. Great to have you come over.
Good to be here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, join us. Well, you know, you've been around this program for quite a while. As a player in that game Saturday, what that meant to you and just your personal feeling of what that was all about in getting a championship.
Yeah, it means a lot. You know, I mean, like you said, been here for a lot of years, been with these coaches for a while. You know, it means a lot to finally achieve part of what we want here. You know, it's a special feeling, and I'm glad we achieved that part of it.
You've been working with your compatriots up front there, and you guys have done just a tremendous job so far this year. The biggest thing is you've all managed somehow or another, because comedy's been dinged up a little bit. I hate to bring that up, Coach, but so far so good. But that rapport, that chemistry, that has to mean a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. You know, we have a tight room. We've been together for 5-6 years now. I mean, that's a long time spending with our group of guys. So we've really come together, got to know each other. You know, we're with each other every day. So you learn to like people that you are with every day. So
you came in what, 2018, I guess,
sir.
huh?
Yep.
So you've been here for a while,
yep.
And you have worked with different quarterbacks. You know, it's really been a different situation there. It's like maybe in baseball, a guy has a different manager every year. How are there any similarities there with the guys that you've worked with?
Oh yeah.
Or are they all different?
No, I mean they're different their own way, but they're all great guys. You know, they get good players from all around. You know, they're just great guys, down to earth guys that you can work with every day, and that's how they're similar. You know.
You and I talked briefly before one day at practice, and I brought up the fact about the family tradition. Your dad played here. Your brother Mike played here. Tort, whenever and you're recruiting this guy, what was that all about, the background on him?
Well, usually when we talk legacy, it's not hard to recruit those guys. They, you know, they're either their dads or their brothers have played here, and it's not a hard sell. They know all about it. I mean, it's just like Saturday's game. There was over 75 former players at the game Saturday.
That many?
Yeah, and I had to turn my phone off Saturday night at 9 o'clock. I had 173 texts. Former players, former coaches, head coach for the Eagles, et cetera, et cetera. So like I tell the kids, like I told them today, the impact that this program has, you have no idea. You know, when you have 75 former players show up for a game on Saturday from guys, you know, and myself and Coach Camp and Coach Smith have been here a long time, but there are guys here that were here at the game that played before I even started coaching here also. So when you recruit a legacy, so to speak, it's not real hard. They've been here for games when their brothers played.
Yeah.
You know, so we've had a ton of brothers. Both Meisner brothers texted me after the game, and their dad texted me after the game. So, you know, family tradition, and you know, if you go through, the Petropolas are just one of many families that have had brothers and dads and, you know, play for us here, and it's special.
So when Mike said he wanted to come to IUP, what was your thought? You were still in high school, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your thought process there? You guys talk about it or what?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, we had a little bit of discussion with it. You know, I mean, not a ton. But, you know, when I was starting to get recruited and stuff, you know, it was definitely more of a discussion, you know, ask him how it was, you know, all the things behind that. So definitely when I was getting recruited, it helped.
You've played in a lot of big games. Was Saturday the biggest?
100%. Yep.
There was a lot involved in that one, huh?
There's a lot involved for sure. I mean, that was the first PSAC championship I've played in. You know, that's big. We were fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah, definitely some big things in that game.
Well, you know, Coach and I were talking, the fans know, especially the ones that stayed for the whole game, that driving rain and everything. You handled the ball all the time. How tough was it?
It wasn't too bad. You know, it might seem bad at first, but a lot of towels I went through. Just keeping the hand dry, you know. But it's not too bad because you start to get a grip throughout the game, so.
as a high school player coming out. Now, you played a lot of defense. Well, of course, in high school, most players go offensive. I read some background on you. You were a pretty good sack man on defense, weren't you?
Something like that. I was more focused on the offensive side. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to hit people on defense. So.
Well, that's what defense is about, right?
That's right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We like him on offense. That's where he belongs, and he's been there for a long time. This guy, I mean, I just call it like I see it. I watch every lineman in the league because I'm watching for our defense. I'm watching the other team's offense, and then I watch our offensive line every day in practice, and I watch our offensive line after games on film. I mean, our offensive line, our whole offensive line, wouldn't trade him for any offensive line anywhere in the country. And I'm going to tell you the same thing about this guy at center. You know, I watched him Saturday reach a shade consistently. I mean, we're running the ball. We ran the ball for 180 yards against a loaded front. We didn't give up any sacks. And you're not going to do that without, like, the center is the guy in the middle. Like, if he's not up, if he's not, and he's making all the calls too. See, people don't understand that. There's a lot of calls involved with you know, protections and so forth. It's not just go out there and if they're in this, let's go. I mean, everybody's got to be on the same page, and this guy kind of helps orchestrate that. And you know, I mean, without a center, you know, you have a great offensive line. The center better be pretty good.
So how do you learn that? You know, the calls and everything as you're coming up as a young player before you're coming out of high school and coming to college?
It's definitely different for sure. I mean, the stuff we run isn't easy. You know, we're making our calls based on where guys are aligned, what type of defense it is. You know, it's just something you learn throughout the years. You know, it takes a little bit to, you know, get the calls down and be able to know everything that's happening. And it's just being a smart football player at the end of the day.
You played against some pretty good teams this year too. I mean, no games are easy, but when you're talking California, Slippery Rock, Gannon very good this year. I mean, this has been a heck of the East Stroudsburg game was not easy. So you have to, I guess, show your versatility, I want to say. Where do you make your personal adjustments in the game? Do you do it early, or do you, or you know, how do you really find that out of what you're going up against?
I mean, it's in the film room all week. You know, we have a general idea coming into the game what they're going to do. Now they might change it up a little bit, but there's nothing that we haven't seen yet. And that's, like I said, just all the film that we've watched throughout the years and weeks leading up to it. You know, there's not a defense that we haven't seen, so we know a general idea what they're going to do.
Is preparation, Coach, easier now than it used to be? I mean, I know from my standpoint, the guys that do games, it's easier.
Well, yeah, because of the you know, you used to have to splice film and take videotapes. Now it's all computerized. Yeah. These guys see everything. They see, I mean, it's a lot easier. But there's more. What happens though? Then that becomes more though, because the defenses do more, and you know, it's easier because of the video and the computer and everything. But a lot of things that they have to do is in between series. They have, you know, we got Coach Arnold up in the box calling down to Coach Camp. Like on the sideline, you can't see it that well. So Jeff does a good job of telling everybody in between series, hey, here's what they're doing. They're in this front. They're slanting. And he does a good job of that. And obviously, Camp's making the adjustments in between series. Yeah. But you know, it's like when we were coming home from maybe it was Edinburgh. We're in the bus, and I'm in the offensive bus, and like it's, you know, we win the game. It's, you know, guys are tired, but like the last 15 minutes, the offensive line, they're talking about like what calls were made, and you know, when we had a new center in there, was he making the right call? And I just remember we were laughing, Coach Wilson and I. John Robinson said, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just listening to whatever CP calls, that's what I'm doing. He goes, I'm not questioning anything, I'm just going to do what CP calls. Yeah. So, you know, that said something there, that they have a lot of confidence that he's going to make the right call. And, you know, the main thing, it's like on defense, too, as long as everybody, whatever call he makes, if everybody does that call, it usually will work out, whether it's the right call or the wrong call. It's when guys are doing other, you know, they're not doing the call that he's making. That's when it gets, you know, it's the same thing on defense. Like, whatever the call is, everybody do it. Whether it's right or wrong, if everybody does it, it has a chance to work.
Well, you have a great advantage, too, because Jeff is Jeff Arnold, who was an all-conference center.
Yep.
And Mike Campolo's been here forever working with linemen, and all you have to do is look it up and go back and look at the players that have come off that offensive line, that have gone on coaching, playing, or whatever. That's got to be a tremendous help for you.
Oh, for sure. And that's kind of the question we talked about earlier with, the preparation. Having Jeff in front of me for 2 years helped big time. He all conference, all American. He knew his stuff, and he helped me a lot, coming up as a younger player. And then obviously Coach Camp, he's been here for so long. He knows everything in and out. He's been a big influence on it too, helping me through everything as a center. So
I got to ask you, I think I asked you before, do you have another year of eligibility? Where do we stand on that? Can we comment on that or not?
We feel like he does. He just, we're going to have to see what he wants to end up doing, and
well, I know that
let it play out.
I know that some of the players, I know a couple of players have told me that they do have a year, but they were fortunate enough to get a job.
Yeah, right.
And it's pretty hard to pass up a job these days.
Right. So we just let it play out. We're worried about this week and the first playoff game, and we'll worry about next year.
Boy, it's got to be exciting getting ready for playoffs, huh?
Oh, for sure.
As a player, would you rather play this week?
In some ways, yes, but others, it's like, it's nice to have a little time off, heal up, get our bodies close to 100%, take a couple days off to get our mind right. And other times it's like, I want to keep playing, I want to keep going, but I think having this week off is huge in the long run.
Timing is right. And for the number one seed, you guys earned it. And that's what you played for. Yeah.
Right.
Colin, thanks very much for coming over. Appreciate it. Good luck to you. Keep it going.
Appreciate it.
You're the center of attention. Quarterbacks that's the toughest position in any sport, right? But they never get the ball if the center doesn't give them the ball.
The center doesn't get it to him. Nothing will happen until the center does what he has to do.
There you go. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back with more on Hawk Talk, coming to you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Stay with us, folks. We'll be back right after this on U92Radio.com and the U92 Facebook page.
Show your IUP spirit and get your Hawk on with help from the Co-op Store, your one-stop location for all your IUP swag and apparel. Check out Norm's Bargain area for $25 fleeces and hoodies. Logo tees only $9.99. The Co-op Store is also the alumni headquarters. IUP is always in your heart, so put something on your front and back that shows that alumni spirit. IUP logoed water bottles, coffee mugs, spirit items for your dorm or man cave. And don't forget the Oak Grove collection. Get your Hawk on at the Co-op Store or find them online at IUPstore.com.
At IRMC, we have all of the necessary pieces in place to perform complex operations, including highly skilled and specially trained surgeons, their support team of experts, and advanced technology like the Da Vinci robotic surgical system. As a result, patients spend less time in the hospital, recover faster, and get treated close to home. So there's no reason to puzzle over where you should get your surgical care. The answer is right here at IRMC.
We're back with you live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Great to have you with us again this week. Coach Paul Tortorella, thanks to Colin Petropola for joining us here on Hawk Talk as they get ready for the next game. It's going to be Ashland or Notre Dame of Ohio. We'll tell you about that in just a few minutes. I did want to mention about another guy who was a key. You say people that have to step up and this and that. How about your punter, Aiden Spittler? He just got the job a couple of weeks ago. Did a heck of a job.
Well, he had 3 punts, and we had a net of 45 on each one of them. And one got down at the 4-yard line, and the other one got down at the 8-yard line. So he's done a really good job. I mean, he really has. And it's really made Nick better Nick's really kicking the ball well. He had struggled earlier. Now he's kicking the ball well because he don't have to worry about punting.
Yeah, Nick and JC. And then let's talk about, we talked about a center. How about your long snappers?
Well, he got special. Him and Ridley, Lanter and Ridley got our special teams player of the week. Lanter was 7 for 7 on snaps in that weather on PAT field goal and punt. And then Ridley on the onside kick, the catch that he made on that was tremendous.
Yeah, and your long snapper is a true freshman, too.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's doing a heck of a job. We put together, John Smathers has put together some highlights here of the game and a couple of key things. First of all, you talked about Dan Diebner, and he stepped in there, he did a terrific job. His touchdown made it 17-7. We have that highlight from Max Sexton, who was named the MVP of the game, but there were a lot of guys. So let's go on that first highlight, and here he is in the far corner of the end zone. Catch made. There you go. Now that was pretty commonplace for him in high school because at Thomas Jefferson he caught a few.
Yeah, he had a lot of receptions in high school, and if we have a one-on-one out there against press coverage, no matter who the wideout is, we're going to take our shot with our quarterback and no matter who the receiver is. Just like there, I think Debner was involved in maybe 4 one-on-one plays with corners, and 3 of the 4 were positive plays for us. So, if they're going to go, when they do load up the box to stop the run, you get a lot of one-on-ones outside. And, Dwayne's made a living off of that. Ridley's made a living off of that. And then, we put Debner out there, and we didn't go away from it. We stayed with it.
Yeah, and that made it a 17-7 game. Okay, another big play. So we talked about freshmen, true freshmen. Kalen Frazier is a D-back. He's a true freshman. So Shepard is driving, and then this comes about. Let's look at the interception here. Deflection, 5-yard line, and there he goes on the near sideline. This was a pretty play. Got a convoy going there.
We thought he had a chance if he would have cut it back behind the quarterback there. But, that's hard. It's easy to see on film. He thought he maybe could stay in bounds and take it right down the sideline. We probably should have put a better block on the quarterback there. Like, if he's going to go make the tackle, we should block them a little better.
You've had some really, you've incorporated a lot of freshmen on this team. Was that the plan originally, or did you see that these guys had talent? It looks like maybe we can go with some of them, getting a lot of help from these guys.
Yeah, well, in the specialists, we thought we needed them to come through, with the long snapper and Andrasey and Spittler. We knew, we needed them to come through for us, so we knew that we were going to give them their shot. We liked Frazier. We recruited him. His dad played, at West Virginia. He played a little bit in the NFL with his dad, matter of fact, just won a championship again as a high school coach out there in Philadelphia, even though they live in Delaware. So this guy's got football smarts. He's talented. When he gets bigger and stronger, as he matures, he's going to be a big-time defensive back in this league. And he's playing great this year as a true freshman. Yeah. Made a lot of plays for us. And you got to have short memory when you play corner at any level. They're going to make some plays on you, but he's got a great mentality. He will hit you. He's a pretty good open field tackler, but he's done a great job in coverage. And that was a great play, being able to, with the tip. He had to actually tip it back to himself. Darius Bruce did a good job on the coverage, squeezing it when the guy ran his angle right and closed the window, and we were fortunate to get a good bounce, obviously. Yeah. But that set us up for our last touchdown, and that kind of, between that and the long drive to start the second half, those were probably the 2 most important things in winning the game.
That touchdown after that was the pass to Laney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we had it on the 32-yard line there after the interception.
Yeah. Darius Bruce. So we're talking about Frazier like as a true freshman, Lanter, and so on. So he made all conference last year so he had a great interception of a different sort, diving for the ball.
Sure. Yeah, he made the hard one, and he let one go through his hands in the end zone later in the game. We had 3 dropped interceptions. Darius Bruce, Jaheim Howard on the first play of the game. Now, I'm talking drops, not, he got his hands on it. They have to catch the ball. Darius on the end zone, corner right. He played it great. Ball went right through his hands. Jaheim on the first play of the game may have been a pick 6. And then Biss on a deflection, the ball went I mean, again, it was right in his hands.
Yeah, I remember
And then we
that.
had an interception that got called back because of pass interference. We legitimately, people are like, you're crazy. Nah, I'll show you the video. We legitimately could have had 6 interceptions in that game.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Well, I'm sure that Shepard is thinking, boy, we dropped a lot of passes.
No, they
with the-"
did, but
Yeah.
we dropped 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
So they dropped a bunch of passes, and we dropped 3 interceptions too. We got 2, and really the 2 that we got were a lot harder than the 3 that we dropped. So.
We have one more highlight. We've talked about this with Adam Hauser. It was sad last year. We counted on him a lot, and he was banged up and so on. It looks like he's healthy. He's coming back. It gives you that depth.
Right.
So let's take a look at the run, the 41-yard run, and there's a big hole there. And there he is at the 40, and at the 50, you're thinking, well, this, and he thinks, slides down at the 9-yard line. So football players need intelligence too, don't they?
Absolutely.
They've got a lot.
We try to play smart. Disciplined and playing the right way and playing smart. You'd be surprised how much better of a player you are if you play with discipline and you play smart. It takes. We always talk about if you're a 2 or 3 star player and you're smart and disciplined, you probably be a 4-star. There's a lot. Like football is not like the old days. Okay, back when I first started coaching and when I was a defensive coordinator here back in the day, it was, see ball, get ball. Football's way more complicated now than it's ever been. And like, if you don't have any football sense and football IQ, you're gonna, no matter how good you are, you're going to struggle a little bit.
You can get lost.
Yeah, you get lost. Yep.
We talked about the offensive line. I don't want to leave them out. How about the defensive line?
Oh yeah.
What? You didn't have any sacks, but that didn't seem to be the way you were handling it, because hurries are a big thing too, aren't they?
Yeah, we had a bunch of hurries. We had 3. We got 3 holding calls on him. Probably was a couple more that they didn't call. We got him off the spot a lot. He didn't kill us scrambling and running for. Like there's games where he makes big runs off a scramble and then he just goes down, but. They had a 3rd and 18 play against Cal late in the game. No, it was 4th and 18 late in the game, in that game against Cal. And he scrambles and runs for 20 yards for first down. The game's over if he doesn't make the first down. So we talked about, hey, let's not let him scramble and make first downs. Let's not let him scramble around because he makes a lot of throws after scrambling. So they did hit 1 scramble. They hit 2 scramble throws. One was a deep one that we didn't play very well. But the other one was a short gain, and he didn't have very many scramble runs on 3rd and 4th down to make first downs, because that drives you crazy on defense.
Yeah.
You cover him, everybody's covered, and he scrambles and makes the first down, and now you got to start all over again.
Yeah, and I know he had 4 rushing touchdowns for a guy that is known for all his passing statistics.
And he's tough to sack. Like
he's a big kid.
He's got a knack. He gets out of things. He's a lot quicker than people think he is. He's very mobile. He doesn't look mobile, but he really is mobile.
Well, I would imagine if you're down on the field playing defense against him, you're
he makes a lot of people miss sacks.
Yeah. Here's a question from a fan. Do you think Mac Sexton played with a bit of a chip on his shoulder after hearing all about Tyson Bagent all week?
Yeah, but he's not that kind of kid. Like, he's very mellow, quiet. I don't think I've heard him yell. I don't think I've ever heard him yell since he's been, like, scream or yell. He's just so flatlined, and he's got a great temperament. I think in his own mind, he wanted to play well. I think he's smart, though. He's very football smart. He understands that it really wasn't him against Bagent. It was him against Shepard's defense and Bagent against our defense. But like I said, I think either after the game or a couple days before the game, and all the things I talked about with Bagent, he's the best player in the country, but we like our quarterback too now.
Yeah, I would think so. He was MVP of the game. You could have given it to a lot of different people, but to handle a ball in those conditions and then be productive.
Oh, he played great. 3 touchdown passes, getting us in the right runs, avoided a couple sacks. no turnovers. You know, as good as Badgen is, he very easily could have thrown 4 or 5 interceptions Saturday. I mean, we dropped 3 interceptions, and one got called back because of pass interference. You know, we didn't turn the ball over at all. You know, they didn't even come close to having an interception.
Well, that's a key in itself. But we've talked about turnovers and how you've come along now to forcing turnover.
Right.
2 big ones yesterday. That time of possession was the thing. If you look at all the stats, that's the thing you could circle. You had the ball almost 10 more minutes.
Right. That's how you beat a team with a great quarterback and a great offense. You don't let them stay on the field very long. Like, you keep them off the field. I mean, the first drive of the second half was 8 minutes. Okay? Our first drive of the game was 6 minutes. So, like, you take those long periods of time where they're just standing over there, then they start to lose their patience a little bit. They only tried about 8 runs the whole game. And I understand. I mean, when a quarterback hands the ball off, their best player doesn't do anything. He just hands the ball off. But, you know, they start to get impatient when they're not out there on offense, and then you get a lead, and you kind of make them one-dimensional because they're not getting a lot of what we call at bats. You know, and when you get 2 turnovers, that takes away, you know, that stops 2 of their possessions. That's what we were upset about with the penalty at the end of the first half. We gave them an extra possession and took a possession away from us. So in reality, that penalty was almost like a turnover.
Yeah. It doesn't show up as turnover.
No, it doesn't. But it's just like when you rough the punter. That doesn't show up as a turnover, but you just gave the ball back to them, so that's a turnover. In reality, it is a turnover, even though it doesn't count as one.
One of the things that fans have talked about over the years when you're playing good Division II football and as prominent as IUP has been, when you're playing teams out of the region, they talk about the depth factor. It appears, or I'm going to ask you, do you think you have more depth on this team than you've had in some of your other teams?
In some ways, yes. At certain positions, you know, in the secondary, we've got a lot of depth. We don't have a lot of depth inside down. We've got, you know, some decent depth at linebacker. On offense, you know, we play, you know, when we're healthy. We've got some depth at the skill positions and at tight end. We're a little thin in the offensive line. You know, we've only really played 6 offensive linemen other than, you know, when games got out of hand. But it comes and goes, you know, certain positions. But where you really see the depth, if you don't have a lot of depth, where it really affects you is in special teams. And, you know, we haven't been really affected with, you know, like our depth we haven't shown to have an issue with depth in special teams, which is huge.
So you've been pleased with them?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be back in a moment. We're going to tell you about the tournament coming up, the NCAA tournament. Of course, IUP is the #1 seed and has the bye coming up this Saturday. How practices go, the other teams that are in the tournament. So we'll be back in a moment. It's Hawk Talk with Coach Paul Tortorella, and we'll return from the Hilton Garden Inn on U92Radio.com and the U92 Facebook page.
CH Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn is this area's best kept secret. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, dinner, happy hour, or for their post-game specials. Make your reservations for CH Field's Craft Kitchen in the Hilton Garden Inn at chfields.com. The Hilton Garden Inn is the preferred hotel of IUP Athletics. Located next to Miller Stadium and the KCAC, the Hilton Garden Inn is Indiana's newest and best hotel. Make your reservations today at hiltongardeninn.com.
Come join us in celebrating our grandfather Red Dowd's induction into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame.
To celebrate, we can't think of anything better than to combine 2 of Dowd's most popular sales.
To honor his legacy and celebrate our 72nd anniversary, we're offering up to 72% off selected floor sample clearance items. Plus, save on all custom orders with every other item up to 1/2 off.
Come celebrate with us, Dowd's of Plumville and Dowd's of Greensburg.
We're back with you live from the Hilton Garden Inn, Hawk Talk. Jack Benedict, Coach Paul Tortorella, IUP getting ready for a game, but it's a way off. So we've talked about how you have no game this week. How are you handling the practices this week and then going into the holiday week when you're going to play next week?
Well, we're taking the same really approach that we took in 2017 when we had to bye. We did our normal Monday today. We're not going to practice tomorrow. We're going to practice Wednesday and Thursday. Now, that'll be more of a practice than we practice during the week of a game. So it'll be a full practice Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to give them the weekend off, and then we'll start our game prep. Like we'll spend a day on Notre Dame probably Wednesday, and we'll spend a day on Ashland Thursday just to get those guys introduced. And, we don't know who we're going to play, but we'll spend a day on each of them. And then obviously we'll know Monday, and we'll move up our schedule next week in regards to our Monday will be like a Tuesday practice. Our Tuesday will be like a Wednesday practice. Our Wednesday will be like a Thursday practice, and we'll have a short practice Thanksgiving morning. Let the kids go home, and they have to be back Friday afternoon, and then we'll have our normal Friday of the day before the game.
Before the game, yeah. I was going to ask you about the selections and how they came about. Of course, Ashland is the number 4 seed, and Notre Dame of Ohio the 5 seed. They play at Ashland. They've got Shepherd. They're the number 2 seed. Right. They're at home. They take on number 7 New Haven. Number 3 Assumption is hosting Slippery Rock. They make the long journey, and that's a murderous trip too. That New Haven Assumption trip, those are the worst.
Yeah.
In any event, does any of this that came about surprise you after we found out the Slippery Rock lost and also the Gannon lost?
No, not at all. I think the 7 best teams are in. And now I obviously don't watch all these teams on video, but I think when you look at the total body of work, those are the 7 best teams, and the way it's seeded, I think, is probably pretty much right on. We played Slippery Rock, and we played obviously Shepherd, so we've played. Two of the top.
Yeah.
Two got teams in the playoffs. I'm not sure. Notre Dame and Ashland are playing, but they played in the opener this year. Back the first game of the year they played.
I saw that in
a non-conference game.
Ashland won it.
Yes, and it was at Ashland, and then they're playing at Ashland again. Assumption played Kutztown, and so they have a game against a PSAC team. So Slippery Rock, is going up there to play, and New Haven is a good team. They're going to go to Shepherd and play. So, and they have playoff experience. New Haven, Notre Dame has playoff experience. Really, all the teams in Assumption does also. Really, every team that's in it they've played in the playoffs before numerous times. So it's not really like there's a team in it that's like if Concord would have got in. They had one year where they were pretty good and they made the playoffs, but they've probably been in the playoffs once the last 15 years. So, but all the 7 have a lot of playoff experience, and any of the 7 could win the region. I really think that's, but obviously the team that has the number 1 seed has a little bit of advantage. You play one less game, so you can rest up, heal up, try to get everybody healthy. There's 28 that are in, but technically we're one of the 16 because only 12 are going to advance this weekend, and then the 4 1 seeds obviously are ready to play. So at the end of the day, we end up being one of the 16, and you got to just play one game at a time and try to survive and advance, as they say.
John, put up the bracketing. My question is, Coach, this is the Super Region 1. How is it matched up against what region? They change it from year to year. Do you have any idea?
They reseeded after. Okay. At the end of the day, whoever wins the region that Saturday, they take the 4 teams. They reseed it. I would think that if you're a 1 seed and you win the region like we are, and only another only one other number one team wins, and now this is way down the road.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Like, you know, the year we played in 2017, all the number one seeds lost that year. So when it got down to the Final Four, we actually were the number one seed out of the Final Four. All the other number one seeds were out, you know, and West Florida, I think we played them. They were a 5 seed. And then Commerce, I think, was a 3 seed, and Harding was a 4 seed. So all the number one seeds lost except us. So we actually were the number one seed of the 4 remaining teams that were left. So, you know, all you got to worry about is whatever game you're playing that Saturday, you got to win to survive and keep playing.
Think back. You've been at IUP a long time as an assistant, and of course, many years now as the head coach. I was thinking about the biggest wins at Miller Stadium, and the one Saturday was.
Yeah, it's got to rank up there.
Yeah. What others come to mind? I had.
You know, probably the first because that was my first game as the head coach, and they were a really good team. You know, it was the opening game, and then we won on a last-second field goal. That was, I think, probably up there for me.
That's the Assumption game.
No, the first Ashland game in 2017
the first
in the opener. They were ranked in the top 10 when we played them. And that was the start of that 17 season where we went 13-0. Probably the Assumption game, you know, that got us into the Final Four that year. So, you know, for me as a head coach, I would probably say those were probably the ones that stand out more than any.
I was talking with some of the fans, and they brought up one fellow brought up the mud game with North Dakota.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could go back,
and that was a semifinal game.
I mean, like it's like the one year. Well, back in the old days, you remember there's only 4 teams that got in. So I can remember, and this goes way back in 1998. We were lucky to even get in. We had 3 losses. We won our last game, and a bunch of things had to happen, and we got in as the 4 seed. And we had to go play Slippery Rock on the road, who had beaten us early in the year, and we beat them. Then we had to go on the road and play Millersville the next game, and they had beaten us that year.
That was early in the year, wasn't
right?
It? Yeah.
So we had to go, and we won, and then we went out to Northwest Missouri and lost in the national semifinals. But here we are in the Final Four, and we were fortunate that like a couple things had to happen on the last weekend for us just to get in, because there were only 4 teams in each region got in. They only took 16 teams. There was no buys, you know, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So that team, you know, in '98 and then 2012, you know, probably the Shippensburg game that we won, the PSAC championship game that year, was probably one of the best wins at Miller Stadium. And then we beat Shepherd in the first round of playoffs. That was a heck of a game.
I have that one listed down.
And we ended up getting down to the Final 8, and we lost at Winston-Salem, the game we were winning and had a chance to win. We got stopped on the 5-yard line down there in the last minute of the game. So, yeah, there's a lot of games you think about. The New Haven game on the road, they were another team that was a top 5 team. That year we beat Shippensburg, that I think was ranked 4th in the country. Then we beat Shepherd, but then we had to go play New Haven at New Haven. They were, I think, ranked 3rd in the country, and we beat them. Then we had to go play Winston-Salem State, who was ranked 2nd in the country, and we lost. We didn't score. We end up losing by 4.
Well, there's a lot of tradition, and 20 times to be in the playoffs is amazing. And I went back, the very first win was that Grand Valley win in 1989 in the snow and the ice and everything that was surrounded it.
Right.
Tony Alucci, Jai Hill and company, whatever. And you think back after the loss at Central Florida, and then the following year was the loss at Millersville at home. And then, you know, with the Grand Valley thing, the precedence that's come up over the years, I mean, this program has just really been something else. And there are just so many people that have come and gone that you got to be fortunate when you get in a situation like this, because there are probably more, I don't want to say it that way, there are more better teams than there used to be, because there are just more teams.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's more teams. And you know, like I told the team today, you got to take advantage of the situation. I mean, this doesn't, you know, you're not the number one seed. That doesn't come around very often. Like, it's nice to be at home. Like, you don't have to travel. If you handle it right, it's a big advantage, but you still got to win the game. But, like, would you rather be a number one seed or a 6 seed? I'd rather play all the games at home. Like in 17, we played all our games at home. You know, we played Westchester again. That's even a crazier thing. You know, I don't know if you remember, in 17, we played Westchester in the PSAC championship out at Westchester, and we beat them. And after the game was over, Bill Swan and I talked after the game. He says, hey, you got a really good team. I think you could definitely win the region. He goes, we're done. I'm going to be packing up the stuff tomorrow. They got in the playoffs. They beat Shippensburg.
I do remember
and then
that.
we played them 2 weeks later. So when I saw them the Friday night at the meeting before we played them in the playoffs, I said, I thought you said you were packing up your equipment, buddy. He's like, well, I'm going to tell you, you know, we got to play you guys again. I'm not really real happy about that, but we had a great win last week against Shippensburg, and you know, they literally thought they were not going to make the playoffs. So we ended up playing them again here, and played well, beat them, and then beat Assumption here, and then unfortunately lost to West Florida. You know, it's like, if you could win the region, which again is way down the road, and then if the added thing is if you can get a semifinal game at home, like that doesn't happen a whole lot. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it. We probably haven't played a lot of home semifinal games. No. You know, but we did in 17, and West Florida beat us. So, you know, it comes down to whoever you're playing, whatever their seed is, wherever you're playing. That Saturday, it's win or you're done.
Or next
for everybody. That's the thing for every team.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Well, the other thing was the atmosphere at the game Saturday, despite the weather and everything, the fans hung in there, everybody hung in. The atmosphere overall this year, I think, has been tremendous. Right. The attendance has been very, very
Absolutely.
good. So I know the students won't, but that applies to everybody, doesn't it? They won't be around that weekend.
Yeah, but so, I mean, we'll have a good crowd. You know, Shepherd brought a lot of people. Whoever we play, Ashland or Notre Dame, whoever it is, I think if we play Ashland, they'll probably have a big crowd come, you know, travel with them. But you know, we went through that last year. We didn't play very well at home, and now we're playing really well at home. And I think the home field advantage is a big part of it with the fans, the band. We've made some changes. You know, where we come on the field at, where we go off the field, a lot less distractions. Warming up on a different, I mean, those things like don't seem like a lot, but 18 to 22-year-old kids get distracted. And when you're coming on and off the field down the other end of the stadium and your girlfriend's standing there and wants to give you a hug, that's a distraction. So that's why we went back to coming on the field at the other end. Yeah. And it's worked out, and the band's been terrific. The fans have been great. And we've had a lot of former players come to a lot of games this year. So it's been great.
All right. Save your hugs till later. All right, Coach. Thank you. Yeah, and good luck this week in practice. Get them healthy, and we'll be back with Hawk Talk next week.
Okay. Sounds good, Jack. Thanks.
All right, Coach Tortorella. Thanks, Colin Petropola, once again, and our crew over here. And we want to tell you that we've got a lot of things coming up. The basketball team's off to a great start. The volleyball team's in the playoffs. A lot of things with IUP going on. So we're glad to have you with us. Thank you. That's it for this week. For the coach and for Colin, this is Jack Benedict, and have a really nice evening.